The first spaceship you ever see in Star Wars is not the Star Destroyer. It is the small white ship running away from it. And that ship is the Millennium Falcon. Not a Falcon, not an early Falcon. The actual model, built as the Millennium Falcon, cut weeks before it was needed, and then quietly rebuilt into somebody else's ship. That is the thread. The Falcon they threw away is still in the film, in the opening shot, and almost nobody watching it has ever known. And the ship that replaced it was built in a panic in about 4 weeks by a young model maker who was given one instruction and deliberately ignored it. So the reason the Millennium Falcon looks like a hamburger is not a joke somebody invented later. It is a genuine emergency caused by a British television series. To get there, start with a man who was sitting behind Walter Cronkite on the night of the moon landing, and who almost nobody in Star Wars fandom can name: Colin Cantwell. He designed the X-Wing, and the TIE Fighter, and the Star Destroyer, and the Landspeeder, and the Sandcrawler, and the Death Star. He also drew the first Millennium Falcon. It cost about $25,000 to build, and it never appeared in the film as itself. What became of that model is the strange part, because Cantwell was not a science fiction illustrator. He spent the 1960s at NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory, making films about spaceflight, back when nobody had actually done any. And on the 20th of July, 1969, he sat behind Walter Cronkite, feeding him live updates as Apollo 11 came down onto the surface of the moon. Lucas met him in 1974 through a mutual friend from American Graffiti. To win the job, Cantwell built 2 elaborate machines out of parts stripped from dozens of hobby kits. It worked, and he was hired before Lucas had even found a studio. There was no Star Wars yet. There was a script and a man who could draw ships. And the ship he drew for Han Solo was long and narrow and tubular. A forward cockpit, an elongated body, and 11 engines clustered across the back. Now, cross the Atlantic, because the thing that killed that design was already on television, and it had been made by people from exactly the same place. On the 4th of September 1975, a British series called Space 1999 went to air, made by Jerry and Sylvia Anderson. It was, at the time, the most expensive television program ever made, with the most convincing visual effects anybody had ever put on a small screen. And its ship was the Eagle Transporter, a modular workhorse, deliberately designed to look like something that hauls cargo rather than something that wins battles. Its original designation was not even a name. It was the MTU, the Multiple Transportation Unit, a thoroughly utilitarian spacecraft in the production's own words. A crew compartment at the front, an engine section at the back, joined by a bare skeletal spine with interchangeable pods slung underneath it for different missions. Now, put the 2 designs side by side. An elongated body, a cockpit set at the front, engines clustered across the rear. These are essentially the same ship. The Eagle's designer was a man named Brian Johnson, and this is the point where the story stops being a coincidence and becomes something much better. Johnson had built spacecraft for Jerry Anderson on Thunderbirds, and then in 1968, he built spacecraft for Stanley Kubrick on 2001. And so did Colin Cantwell. Cantwell worked on 2001 as well, designing its space sequences. Both of these men came out of the same film. 2 designers on 2 continents, trained by the same production, both handed the same brief: build a spacecraft that looks like a real working machine. Johnson said the Eagle started from a grasshopper shape, and that it just kept getting longer while they built it. Cantwell's ship got longer too. So nobody stole anything from anybody. This is 2 solutions to one problem, from one tradition arriving at the same shape at the same moment in history. None of which helps you if you were George Lucas in 1975, and your pirate starship now looks like the star of a show already on the air. In Lucas's own words, he thought the other design was too close to Space 1999 and too conventional looking, so he killed it. And he did it after the model was already finished. Lucas admitted the crew were all very upset because they had just completed building the other pirate starship. The job of replacing it went to a young model maker named Joe Johnston. Accounts of how long he had disagree with each other. Most of them say about 4 weeks. Lucasfilm's own version is harsher still and says the team had to refabricate an entirely new look in a single day. Either way, this was not a design process. It was a panic.
Lucas's only instruction was to think of a flying saucer. And Johnston did not want to build a basic flying saucer because everybody had already seen a flying saucer. So what he did instead is the entire reason you can recognize this ship from one frame at any angle from across a room. He broke the symmetry on purpose 3 separate times. First, he pushed the cockpit off to one side so that it hangs off the edge of the hull instead of sitting properly in the nose where a cockpit belongs. Second, he split the front of the ship open into 2 forward cargo mandibles so the silhouette has a bite taken out of it. And third, he cut a slot into the back for the engines, rather than hanging them off the hull the way every other ship in the film does. As for where the shape itself came from, Johnston has said the spark was dirty plates. He caught sight of a stack of them at home and imagined 2 of them sandwiched together. The hamburger version is the famous one, complete with an olive on the side standing in for the cockpit. There are several competing versions, and the truth is still argued over. But Johnston himself once put it very plainly. They took components from the blockade runner, including the cockpit, stuck it on the side of a big dish, and put mandibles out in front. Read that sentence again, because it quietly contains the whole secret. The cockpit of the Millennium Falcon was taken off the ship that the Millennium Falcon replaced. Johnston called it one of the most intense projects he ever worked on. Ralph McQuarrie had to go back and repaint existing concept art so that it matched the new ship. And at the end of it, they had the most recognizable spacecraft in the history of cinema, produced under emergency conditions by a man who refused the brief he was handed. Which brings us back to the model under the sheet. There was a finished, expensive $25,000 spaceship sitting in that workshop with nothing left to be. And they were never going to throw it away. So they modified it. They rescaled it. They added outcroppings along the hull, and they gave the thing a completely new job. It became the Rebel blockade runner, the Tantive 4, Princess Leia's ship, the one carrying the stolen Death Star plans at the very start of the film. But its cockpit was gone, because that cockpit was now bolted onto the side of the Millennium Falcon. They needed a new front end, and they needed it immediately. The solution, according to one of the crew, took almost no time at all. George and Joe came up real quick, he said, with this hammerhead shark idea. So now, go and watch the opening of Star Wars again, and understand what you were actually looking at during the first 30 seconds of it. That white ship running across the top of the frame is Colin Cantwell's Millennium Falcon, rescaled, redetailed, wearing a shark's head and carrying Leia instead of Han Solo. The first ship in Star Wars and the most famous ship in Star Wars are the same physical object. One of them simply got a new body 4 weeks before shooting. Which means the thing that opens the most successful film series ever made is a mistake. A design that was rejected, rebuilt out of thrift, and put on screen first anyway. Colin Cantwell died in 2022 at 90 years old at home in Colorado. He had been the first person hired onto Star Wars, and one of the last to be talked about. Lucas said Cantwell's artistry built the visual foundation for ships that are instantly recognizable today. That is true, and it is true in a way most people entirely miss. Because the one ship he was actually hired to design got cut from the film. And it is still the first thing anybody has ever seen of Star Wars in every cinema for nearly 50 years.